4 days ago, over 20,000 delegates from 200 member states gathered here in Cairo to try and find ways to ensure they achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. As the World Urban Forum now comes to a close, they reflect on some of the lessons learned and how they will ensure they achieve building sustainable houses and thriving urban cities.
I think for us as the Team Eastern Cape, we are really going to take back on how do we provide for the middle income, so our social housing. We know that we've been a bit slack there as a province. How do we eradicate informal settlements, but in eradication of informal settlements, those that still exist, how do we ensure that the basic human rights, provisioning of water, electricity is a huge thing for us as a country?
Look, it has got to start with ourselves. It has got to start where we live, where our people are, to build this type of communities, settlements that are essentially productive, that enhances the quality of life, that then embraces climate sustainability and energy efficiency. And we have got to lead the way, and we hope that with the 2 smart cities that we've launched in the province, we are beginning to take those critical baby steps in the right direction, and any development we are taking forward will begin to embrace elements that will really become the cornerstone arising from this forum.
Eradicating informal settlements and building permanent structures, a shared sentiment.
You know, we have got a backlog on health, on education, but we require more funding on housing units, because that is what our people need. And as you can see, that most of the people in Gauteng, there are a lot of informal settlement. Even in Limpopo, if you go to Tabazimbi area, you go to Northam, you find a serious backlog in terms of informal settlement. And as such, we will need to have resources that will be able to respond to these challenges.
I've learned quite a lot over the last 3 and a bit days in terms of blended financing, packaging it, but also to get your project business ready and financing ready. And I think the second takeaway for me, again, it's how the rest of Africa is actually tackling slum dwelling, how they are attacking informality in very constructive and creative ways, I must say. But I think the third thing is also taking your community along with you, because, I mean, it is enshrined in our constitution, public participation, but meaningful public participation, meaningful community engagement, which is a session I attended yesterday. And the rest of Africa and the rest of the world has similar problems. It's how do we ensure that the engagements we have with our communities is actually tangible. They feel that their voices are heard, but it also contributes to tangible delivery. But I think all of us around the table need to understand, as we talk about public community participation and communication, is to ensure that we don't waste 3, 4, 5 years, because the rate of urbanization is happening at a staggering rate. I mean, 98,000 houses per day is actually needed. But if we are stuck 3 or 4 years in public participation, imagine how that number will balloon out of proportion.
With a housing backlog of over 3 million, South Africa has a crisis looming that needs to be addressed. Infrastructure development is widely considered to be pivotal to South Africa's economic recovery plan and growth prospects. Yet infrastructure spending at all levels of government has been declining in recent years, in the face of a steady rise in public debt.
So African cities over the next 25 years will grow by 2/3. And at the moment, we have got a massive infrastructure financing gap. It is estimated we need about $180 billion per annum to finance the investment of our cities. And at the moment, we're sitting at about 110 billion. So there's a 70 billion gap per annum. And obviously, as every year passes, that gap gets worse because of the deficit we have in the past. And that's the one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that a lot of that existing capital we have is for the wrong infrastructure investment, because we've got to make sure that future infrastructure keeps our cities to be low carbon and also to be regenerative. And so we're talking about a new generation of infrastructure, and these infrastructures also need to be enabled by digital platforms, and none of the current investments are solving for those issues.
Being able to build resilient cities that are able to withstand unprecedented climate are part of the roundtable discussions. Key to that are buildings that are energy efficient and environmentally friendly.
What we also have as the DBSA is we have accreditation to entities like the Green Climate Fund and the Global Environmental Facility, and we use that accreditation, also the Green Fund, which is a South African fund, and we use funds from those elements to provide concessional financing to developers to ensure that their projects are aligned with these technologies. There's another one that we're working now with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure with the program for government buildings to retrofit them to become energy efficient, to generate their own power, and to also be more water efficient as well.
The forum, hosted in Cairo, showcased some of the leading world's developments in terms of housing, leading trends in development, and futuristic architectural prospects. One of those is the new capital city, built only 5 years ago. It showcases some of the very best intents of developing advanced technologies and architecture that Egypt has to offer.
One, to set a target for ourselves. We've come to Egypt. When we were here, we were able to visit some of their projects, which are brilliant. So we want to set our targets to say we are going to transform our communities, and we want to showcase that. So it's the target for me and my team to say, are we able to beat some of these countries in showcasing what South Africa has capacity to do, and being able to say we land in Egypt. I mean, visiting the new administrative city was one of a marvel, and my colleagues have been sharing because we spread. Some went to social housing, and they were saying we've seen, I mean, all MECs, mayors, MMCs who are here are motivated to say, when we get home, minister, it's no longer a talk shop, it's about action. So everybody's saying to their administrators, their HODs, I said to my DG that things are going to be different. At MINMEC, things are going to be different. The conversation have to be different, because there is no reason why South Africa cannot be at the level where Egypt is. We have the same resources, we have the same capacities, and therefore it's a challenge for us to beat them as well in what we are doing.
The highlight was the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between South Africa and the UN Habitat on the establishment of an office in Pretoria to assist South Africa to deal with some of the human settlement challenges it faces. Lerato Fekisi, SABC News, Cairo.